Hi everyone, Dr. Monette here to present my Who Am I project. So a little bit of background information about myself. My birthday is March 17th, 1984, and my birthday is on St. Patrick's Day. So everybody in my family considers me a lucky charm, and it also explains why my favorite color is green. I was born in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, but I've moved around quite a bit when I was younger. I lived in Morganton, North Carolina, and Iker, North Carolina, and that is where I spent most of my childhood. And then after graduating college, I moved to Marianna, Arkansas, where I taught second grade. And then I moved to South Haven, Mississippi, and Horn Lake, Mississippi, where I taught sixth grade, and then sixth, seventh, and eighth grade reading, resource, and special education. And then when I decided I was going to continue my degree and um, go to the University of Memphis for my doctorate, I moved to Memphis, Tennessee. And then from Memphis, I moved to Hartsville when I got a job at Coker. And I now live in Lexington, South Carolina. So, a little bit about my home life. So, I come from a single parent family. I was raised primarily by my mother and my grandmother. I am a grandma's baby. And I have one sister whose name is Amanda. She is younger than me. And during my home life, my family suffered in terms of employment. A lot of my family are not high school graduates. A few of them did go back and get their GED, but primarily most of my family worked in factories. And that was something that I saw, and I saw how hard it was when they would get their pink slip or their jobs would go overseas or they would get laid off or hours were cut. And I just remember thinking when I was younger that I did not want that to happen to me. So I wanted to have a job where I felt secure and safe. So I decided that I was going to go to college, and I always loved children. So I decided that I wanted to be a teacher because I loved to be able to help people learn new things. So I am the first person in my family to graduate high school, even though some of my family did go back and get their GED. And I am the first person in my family to graduate college with a bachelor's. My oldest cousin is now the second one in our family to do so. So we're continuing that trend. And I am the only person in my family who has a master's or a doctorate. So a lot of my family didn't quite understand why I wanted to continue my education. But there was something about my experiences growing up that caused me to be adventurous, to try new things, and to believe in myself and to know that no matter what I did, I could succeed in anything that I set my mind to. So I continued with my studies, and now I'm here at Coker with my doctorate teaching what I love, education. So, a little bit about my background. So, my education and extracurricular activities. Well, when I was in elementary school, primarily besides going to school, I did cheerleading, and then I was also a Girl Scout. So, something that was instilled to me really early on was to help others and to be selfless. And that can kind of explain why, when I teach, I'm always open to questions, I'm always helping with resources, and it really shapes what I do in the church and how I interact with people. I have a tendency of putting other people before myself, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but from time to time you need to remember to make sure that you take care of yourself as well. And then in middle school, I had some really inspirational teachers who encouraged me to work hard. And I will never forget, I had this seventh grade homeroom teacher. Her name was Miss Hasty, and she was the Spanish teacher, but she was my homeroom teacher. And that particular teacher really worked with me. She knew that I was capable. She talked to me every morning. She helped me get into career shadowing, where I got to go into, I believe it was a first grade classroom and work. And she just really gave me a lot of opportunities and was trying to get me to step out of my comfort zone. And I really appreciate all the hard work she put in. And that's something that I try to give back as a teacher. And in middle school, I did play softball and I also played basketball. I'm not the tallest person in the world for basketball, but it was a lot of fun. Softball was kind of my sport. Then, when I went to high school, I kind of quit playing sports altogether, primarily because I had to work ever since I was 16. And the main thing that I did was go to classes. I was in chorus, which was something that I loved. I love singing and I love performing. I just have a little bit of stage fright when it comes to myself, which is pretty common for most people. But that's something I've been working on a lot, especially as I've grown into an adult, going into church and being part of choir and starting to do solos and specials. But that wasn't something I was comfortable doing when I was younger, which is part of my development. Being able to step out of your comfort zone takes a lot of time. So that's something that I'm still developing even as an adult. And when I was in high school, I wasn't sure that I wanted to go to a 4 year institution. However, my senior year, I decided that I was going to do something crazy. And instead of having an easy senior year like a lot of seniors do, especially when I was in school, they called it the bird year. And it was filled with a lot of electives and arts and things like that. I decided I was going to take geometry, algebra, chemistry, Spanish 1 and 2, and I was going to go to a 4 year school. And I did do so. So, very proud of myself for doing that. Wish I would have decided that a little earlier on so I wasn't so overwhelmed my senior year. But I did get to keep my course. That was the most important part to me, to have that one escape from the academic side that year. Going to college, I got my bachelor's in elementary education, which was K-6 at that time, from Leeds-McRae College, and I graduated in 2007. I graduated high school in 2002, so it took me 5 years, but there's nothing wrong with it taking a little bit longer. That was part of my maturing. I wasn't necessarily ready for college the first year that I went in, but I found my way, and I had a lot of really great teachers at Leeds-McRae. It was a really small school, very much like Coker. And I really was able to find my niche and to find my place and to be able to reach out to professors that could help me and guide me. And I was very successful in the end. In 2010, I decided I was going to get my master's, and I graduated from Arkansas State University in 2012 with a master's in curriculum instruction. And then, not soon after that, I decided I was going to get my doctorate in instructional and curriculum leadership from the University of Memphis, which took me 3 years and a half to complete. And soon after that, I moved to Hartsville when I got my job at Coker. And as you can see from my pictures, I really changed developmentally. When I was getting my bachelor's, I was not a mother at that time. I was not married. The little child in the picture is my nephew. He was the closest thing to me, and he was like my little boy. But when I got my master's, I had my daughter already. I believe she was 2 going on 3, and I was actually pregnant with my son Nicholas, who you can see down in the bottom. So they have been a part of my development and my educational experiences as well. So why Coker for me? Well, Coker for me, it's small, it's private, it's liberal arts. It is exactly what I went to when I went to undergrad. And I just remember how personable and interactive it was. I could be involved with education majors from the beginning to the end. And I could have that connection with students like the professors that at Leeds-McRae had for me. So I'm very much very service oriented in my personality. So I'm always wanting to give back what I got as a student. So I want to help students in any way that I can, and Coker allows me to do that. Whereas when I was at the University of Memphis, I did graduate teaching assistantship. And I would see students once, and then some of them I would never see again unless they were in a senior seminar where I got the privilege and opportunity to work with them again. And also at Coker, I can observe and help education majors in their field placements and student teaching. Since you are going to have me for multiple classes if you're an education major, I will have that opportunity to work with you and to help you, and you could always reach out to me, which is something that I loved about Coker so much. So, who or what has shaped me physically? Well, my children, my husband, and my health. Well, first off, I am not ashamed to say that I have been overweight in my past. When I was younger, diet and exercise was not necessarily something that I strive towards. I love fast food, I love drinking sodas, but eventually I realized that my health was more important than convenience and eating things that I just wanted to eat that was Of course, they're delicious, but things that I knew that weren't good for me. So, one of the biggest changes in my life was changing my diet and my exercise. And I am very proud to say that I've lost over 60 pounds and am now in a healthy range to where my health is no longer in jeopardy so that I can have a long, active life with my children and my husband. And as you can tell by these pictures, we are a very active family. We enjoy going snow tubing, and we've went snowboarding, and we've done things with skateboarding. And as you can tell down at the bottom, I have a lot of videos embedded here that you can watch of all the adventures that I have with my family. So my husband riding on a tricycle, jousting with my children, and skiing and snowboarding and all these things. They're quite hilarious to watch, to see just a little snippet into how physical my family really is. So cognitively, a lot of people have shaped me. My children, I've learned so much from raising my children and my nephews and my family as well. Being around them, seeing what works for them, seeing what doesn't work, seeing how I can apply that into other situations. My husband, well, cognitively, he's taught me a lot of patience and to be forgiving and understanding. My educational experiences, everything that I've done has taught me a lesson in some way, whether that's being in my student teaching placements where I was in a K-1 combination, and then later in fifth grade to second grade to sixth grade to being reading resource special education, working in the inner city schools, in the high schools for Peer Power, and the Jubilee Summer Reading Program, which was also with inner city elementary age students. So the more experiences that I've had, the better person I'm becoming when it comes to my teaching, because I'm realizing that what is necessarily inside my bubble isn't the same for everybody that's around me. Now I have friends that come from so many different backgrounds and cultures. I have Muslim friends. I have friends that are international students. And without these experiences, either teaching or educational, I would have never gotten these. So I'm so grateful that I've learned how to interact and learn from them and all their different backgrounds that they bring, and opening up all of these different realms of understanding that I didn't have before. And then who has shaped me socially, emotionally? Well, my mother, my husband, and my family. My seventh grade homeroom teacher, Miss Hasty. My educational and job experiences, challenging experiences that may be scary, college professors who pushed me out of my comfort zone, my friends, music, church. All of these are things that have shaped me socially and emotionally. They've made me a stronger person. When I started off in undergrad, I could not present in front of my peers. I would break out into hives. I would shake. My voice would quiver and tremble. I was a wreck. And over these challenging experiences and with these job experiences, presenting at conferences, constantly practicing, this no longer scares me. So, socially, emotionally, this has taught me that all you have to do is try. And the more that you try, the better that you'll become. And to never give up and to try things that are outside of your comfort zone. It's okay to make mistakes. Trust me, I've done it. And it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. We're all fallible, but we're all keepable. But putting ourselves into these situations, riding that roller coaster that may be scary, taking dance lessons to see, just to practice and see, getting involved in church and volunteering, going indoor skydiving, even though it may be scary and loud, trying these things to see how far can you push yourself to develop socially and emotionally. And that's what I continue to do on a daily basis, is to push myself out of my comfort zone. Now, down at the bottom, I said something about music. Music really has shaped me socially and emotionally. And something that I have is something that I call power songs. And power songs are these things that just, when you're in a bad mood or you just think that everything's going wrong, you can just put this song on and it just makes you feel better. And one of my power songs, I made a hyperlink for you here if you have never heard this song, is Skillet's Awake and Alive. And I will warn you, if you go back and you look at my pictures of my friends, you'll notice that some of my friends have crazy colored hair. And Some of my friends are what you would call metalheads or alternative. And again, that has developed me socially and emotionally as well, because how I present myself to others, even though I may be more like my friends who show who they are on the outside with their appearance, maybe with tattoos or hair or piercings or whatever that may be. I may have those ideas in my inside of me, but I can choose to present myself in certain ways. But just because they look differently than me doesn't mean that we're no longer friends or that we don't have anything in common anymore. So, my power song is actually considered a rock metal type song, but it's very empowering and very lifting when you hear the words to the song. And then, last but not least, shaping me socially, emotionally is church. Being involved in choir, volunteering, vacation Bible school, getting those opportunities to talk to people about beliefs and morals, and developing that as a person. And again, these are not things that change, it's just things that I'm continuing to do as I develop into a more mature adult and growing into the future. So, my future career and my experiences. Well, there's lots of things that help and hinder me. Well, first off, things that could help me with my future career are things like my strong work ethic. I believe that no matter what, people can do things. I have a very big growth mindset. If you try and you put the work in and you get the supports and the resources that you need, you are capable of doing things. However, that can hinder me as well because differences in backgrounds and beliefs. Where I believe in a growth mindset, some of my students may have a fixed mindset where they think that no matter what they do, they're going to be a poor drawer or they're going to be bad at math. That's not true. It's all about practicing and experiences with it and how you were taught and how you practiced and you interacted with that subject or that craft. But some people don't believe that, and it takes a lot to be able to change a mindset. So even though I have a strong work ethic, that may not be the case for the people that I work with. I have high standards and expectations. I expect for people to try hard and to meet expectations. And if they don't, I help them to get to that. But again, what worked for me may not work for other people. And also, understanding that not all people and children will be open to help even when offered. So it's kind of hard to meet high standards and expectations when you're afraid to ask for help. So building that connection can hinder because I want them to ask for help and I tell them, but getting them to come to me and to feel comfortable with me may not necessarily work because depending on their backgrounds, they may have had a bad experience with a teacher or with a professor and then they're scared to do that. So even though I have this strong work ethic and strong standards and expectations, not everybody's going to come and tap into that. Same thing with being relatable. I have lots of experiences and backgrounds, but then again, if you don't get to know your students and your students don't get to know you as an individual, it's hard for them to know that you're relatable, especially when they may have a perception of teachers being a certain way or professors being a certain way, and that's not true. I'm extra helpful and I provide supports. No matter what, I will always drop what I'm doing for a student. But getting students to understand that is a big task. Understanding that learning takes time and is a progress or a process and you progress. That is a big thing for me. However, people at times may get knocked down. So what works for me may not work for others. So it's very important to realize that people come in with different mindsets than you do. So a lot of these things can help and hinder my future career as well. But ultimately, understanding that my background is very diverse from other people's backgrounds is a very big factor into this. So hopefully my Who Am I project gave you a little bit more information about me and who I am as a person. Thank you.